Guys, joining me now, Douglas Mackey and his attorney, James Burnham. Guys, I guess a lot of people don't necessarily know the backstory of this. I was following Doug back when he was Ricky Vaughn on Twitter in 2016. It was sort of one of the epic sort of the OG MAGA Twitter accounts. Just, awesome stuff. So, just that's the backstory. And then you have the lawfare about it. So thank you guys both for being here. But, Doug, I'll start with you. I mean, can you give the audience just a quick refresher on how the Biden DOJ targeted you, and then some of the big news you got a few weeks ago?
Yeah, thank you, Don. Thanks for having me. So in 2016, I posted a meme. Like you said, I was Ricky Vaughn. It was humorous. It said, Hillary Clinton voters, skip the line, stay home, text your vote for Hillary Clinton to 59925. And sort of my Twitter account at the time got suspended, and this got some media attention, but I kind of forgot about it. 4 years later, 7 days after Joe Biden was inaugurated, the FBI came knocking on my door. They indicted me over this meme, saying that I was part of a grand conspiracy to steal votes. And this dragged on. I was tried and convicted in 2023. And we appealed the case. One of the first sort of minor victories we won was when I won appeal bond. So the judge wanted me to report to prison, and we had to appeal just to get a bond to stay out of prison for the duration of the appeal. We got the great news roughly 2 weeks ago that the court came down with a unanimous decision on appeal of a 3-0 judgment of acquittal. They didn't just order the case dismissed or remanded for a new trial. They actually ordered the judge to enter a judgment of acquittal, saying that there was no evidence, there was insufficient evidence that I was part of any grand conspiracy to steal anybody's vote.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I mean, there were left-wing Twitter accounts at the time doing the same thing to Trump voters, like almost verbatim. Like literally, they took your meme and like made it about Trump, and like nothing ever happened to those guys, right? It wasn't like this was a general crackdown. I mean, this just targeted you. You were a provocative Twitter account. Again, like I said, definitely one of the funniest that I had seen in that cycle. That was before, it was. I mean, for you, I mean, it was just fun, right? That was before it became sort of a bit of an industry.
Exactly. We were having fun. We were trying to support and promote President Trump and get him elected. There was no stealing of anybody's vote. So yeah, you're right. A liberal comedian named Christina Wong put out a video that said the same thing. And this is an age-old joke that people make. Democrats vote on Wednesday, Republicans vote on Tuesday. And I think Jimmy Kimmel did something with this in the 2020 cycle, if I'm not mistaken. Similar type of joke on national television.
Yeah. So James, from a legal perspective, where do you go from here? I mean, this has been now, 4 years. I assume, a lot of money. What's the next chapter in this story for you guys?
Yeah, look, so it's all about getting justice for Doug. And I mean, just to lay out how starkly the timeline of his case is, I don't need to tell you about lawfare, obviously, and what you guys have had to go through. But I mean, we're talking about memes before the election. They charged Doug with the crime 2 days after Biden was inaugurated. 2 days. I mean, it was literally like they were waiting until the Biden DOJ came in to bring this thing. So now we have to get justice for Doug. Oh, and one other detail that I think you'll like. Two of the main lawyers that did Doug's appeal, that won the case for him in the Second Circuit, now work for your father at the Justice Department. So Yakov Roth and Harry Graver are both politicals in the current Justice Department. So we've actually brought the good guys inside the House again as we try to restore order with AG Bondi. So what happens now? There's a law called the Federal Tort Claims Act. That says you can sue the government when they do bad things to you. That includes what the government did to Doug here. As soon as the acquittal's final after July 30th, we're going to file a claim with the Justice Department for a considerable amount of money to get Doug paid back for his legal fees and try to do whatever you can with money to make the man's life right again. I mean, these guys destroyed his life for 4.5 years, and that's going to require, I think, that you really can never make somebody whole for something like that, but we're going to do the most we possibly can. The second half of justice for Doug is holding accountable the people that did this to him. So the first way to hold them accountable is make sure Doug's compensated. The second way to hold him accountable is make sure that the people, the individuals, are held accountable. And so we're looking at everything we can do. We're looking at suing the prosecutors and the agents individually. We're looking at misconduct complaints, and we're also going to be engaging with AG Bondi's team and the rest of the DOJ folks on different things we can do to make sure that these folks that did this to Doug are never able able to do this to anybody again, and that people like them don't get ideas down the road if, God forbid, we ever don't control the Justice Department again.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm listening at, Hillary Clinton claiming that, a guy posting a meme on Twitter in 2016, like it was voter suppression. It was a scheme, just like they claimed the Russians were hacking the election, and Trump was working as an agent, and all of this nonsense. Doug, when you look back at comments like that, how do you respond now? I mean, especially, by the way, in lieu of what we found out, over the last week about just how much they were actually conspiring to steal elections, just how much they were actively colluding to subvert the duly elected president of the United States.
Absolutely. This just became, like you said, much more relevant. Like you said, Hillary Clinton went on stage at some shindig that globalists go to and said that, oh, by the way, this guy was just convicted and he tried to steal the election. Okay, go back to 2017. Senator Amy Klobuchar blew this meme up and put it on the floor of the Senate saying, oh, this is Russia. Look at this meme. This is Russia. This is part of the Russia conspiracy. And we now know that one of the poor guy that they squeezed, the cooperating witness who pled guilty to this crime that wasn't even a crime, they were interviewing him saying, are you loyal to the United States? Are you working for Russia? They actually believe that this meme came from Russia. So this whole thing germinated.
Do you think that, though? Knowing
Russia
what you know
conspiracy.
now, do you think that, or do you think, they just didn't care, and it was like it was just a convenient. Everything was Russia. I mean, I was an agent of Russia. Trump was an agent of Russia. I guess he needed the money. I don't know. It never really made a lot of sense to us. I think everyone, certainly who were sort of vocal as we were during that time and since, always knew it was BS, right? Just like, of course, COVID came from the lab in Wuhan that studied the exact virus in question at ground zero of the outbreak of the virus, but it didn't matter. If you said that, even if it was the most obvious, even if it was obviously the most plausible solution, you were still canceled and crushed.
I don't know which would be worse, that they actually believe this, or if they were just cynically using it. I don't know which would be worse.
I'd almost be like, how do we have people
scary.
that stupid if they actually believed it? I mean, at least the other way you can be like, okay, sometimes, I wish we played the game the way that they do, because that would stop this nonsense. But as long as they're going that hard and we're not, they're going to keep doing it.
Exactly. And that's what we need to do. We need to push back here and not just let this, bygones be bygones here.
And just on this witness that Doug was talking about, this guy Microchip, I mean, one of the things that the Biden Justice Department did that the left is very good at is what I call law enforcement theater. So they do things that's innuendo, it's a lot of suggestion. And so this guy, they had testify anonymously. Okay, that's what you do when it's like El Chapo. Okay, and you've got the secret witness from Sinaloa, okay? Not when you're talking about Ricky Vaughn with the tweets about voting for Hillary Clinton with a text message. Why do they do it? Because it makes it look more sinister. It makes it look like this is some big nefarious MAGA plot that's there, that's this guy's in jeopardy, and all that stuff is ways.
Yeah, James, what motivates you to take on, this fight too? What does accountability look like for the prosecutors who launched this witch hunt? What does real justice look like? I mean, is this disbarment? Is it just fines, censure? How does that work in legalese?
Yeah, so look, I mean, I've done my fair share of criminal defense work before, and I really get upset when the government overreaches. I have never seen the government overreach like it did in Doug's case, where they literally tried to put him in prison for a meme. I mean, we have a constitutional right to send memes. This country was founded on memes.
By the way, when I first heard about it, and again, I'd followed Doug for years before. When I literally thought it was a joke. I was like,
you thought it was a meme?
I literally thought it was a meme. Like, are you serious? You're going after a Twitter account? Like, it's
yeah, dude. I mean, Thomas Paine was like a memester in the founding era. Anyway, it's just crazy. So that's why I wanted to get involved. I knew Doug before when the case first launched, and I've talked to him for a long time. So that's why I'm here. Mm-hmm. And look, in terms of accountability, we need to follow the facts where they lead. There's a lot about this case we don't know. When you're a criminal defendant, you have very few tools to figure out what's going on the government side. As you guys have seen, because you had to deal with all this nonsense. And so one of the things we're going to be doing is engaging with the Attorney General and Dag Blanche and soon to be Associate AG Stanley Woodward and Ed Martin and all the other folks at DOJ to make sure that we actually figure out what happened here. What was going on? Why did they do it? And what are all the different remedies we have to hold these people accountable? But yeah, we're not going to stop at anything until we make sure that there is never another case like this again, ever.
Doug, what's your life been like, during all of this? I mean, how has it impacted your career, ambitions, your day-to-day life? Can you still be a general in the meme wars?
Well, it's been
Or
extremely
you're like,
difficult.
I've had enough.
Yeah. Well, that's how it was for a long time. I basically, was when I had to go radio silent, on Twitter before the case, and I couldn't do anything. I mean, it was very difficult because, I had my fiance at the time, and we had to eventually just say, hey, we're going to get married here because we can't wait forever for this case. We got married right before, and then we found out the trial. We got married in January 23. We found out the trial was going to be in March. The week of the trial, I found out that my wife was pregnant. The October of that year, my wife had to be hospitalized. It was a difficult pregnancy. I had to jump on an airplane to go up and be sentenced in Brooklyn, New York. As soon as I touched down on the ground, my wife called me and said, the doctor said we have to do an emergency C-section tonight at 8 p.m. And obviously, there was nothing I could do except go to the sentencing the next day and fly back the next day. And my son was born. And then we spent months in the NICU. I can't go travel abroad overseas to visit my wife's family. It's been extremely difficult. Not to mention when the FBI comes and knocks on your door, and people hear about this, and it's on
Oh,
Rachel
yeah.
Maddow's show that night. I mean, I wonder how she got the inside information there.
Yeah.
Then you can only imagine even your close friends and family are saying, what in the world did you do here? Now, I'm fortunate that a lot of them, as they saw the facts of the case, they realized this was not a real case. There was no crime, and I didn't actually do anything wrong. But it was extremely difficult, missed opportunities. I missed friends' weddings. The list goes on and on. Very difficult personally. And 4.5 years of my life on pretrial supervision. And they wanted 2 more years of probation after 7 months of imprisonment. So it's hard to even explain how this drags on and on and on.
Yeah,
And can I just underscore the fact that they arrested him is totally crazy. Even if you take the rest of this at face value, which obviously you shouldn't.
well,
This is a nonviolent offender who obviously would self-report. It's an awful lot like executing a forcible search warrant at the former president's residence in Florida. It's just
yeah.
classic heavy-handed Gestapo tactics to intimidate people and scare them.
Yeah, when they showed up at Mar-a-Lago with the FBI's hostage rescue team, when they've been cooperating with the legal counsel and the others, both back and forth for months, if not years, that's there to deliver a message. I mean, how did they single you out, Doug? I mean, you weren't the only person posting memes in 2016. I mean, there's probably a lot more meme warriors these days than then. You were on the leading edge, but why'd they pick you?
Well, this is once again pure animus, I believe, against MAGA because they said this guy had the biggest account. He was the most effective. He got the most under our skin. And they actually even, how these people operate. They were leaking to Reuters. They were leaking to New York Times. So what they told Reuters was that we're going to bring a case against this one guy because he had the loudest voice. And we could say maybe his memes actually impacted the election, which, by the way, is crazy if they actually believe that.
Yeah.
But not only that, they thought that if they came and arrested me, that somehow I was going to, this would lead to some trail of some foreign conspiracy or something. And they actually thought that they were going to be able to start rolling up other people. Little did they know that, I didn't cooperate with them at all. There was no grand conspiracy. And even when they squeezed this other guy, they weren't able to find anything there other than a sort of a poor sap who didn't have the fortitude to stand up against the federal government. There was no trail to Russia or some great conspiracy. The fact is, as we all know, is simply that Hillary Clinton lost the election. And these memes, I mean, the only way that we actually influenced the election was mostly just using her own words against her. So, and the idea, we just amplified what your father was saying, what President Trump was saying on the campaign trail. There was nothing nefarious about any of this.
James, from a legal procedure perspective, what's the process from here? What else do we need to know? What do we have to keep an eye out to make sure that, justice is done here?
Yeah, so I have total confidence in the DOJ team that will receive our request. The first step is an administrative process at DOJ. So we're going to file a claim on Doug's behalf as soon as the acquittal is final. The district court should enter the final acquittal at the end of July, beginning of August, and then we'll go to DOJ and we'll submit a claim on his behalf, and we'll be able to work it out with them in relatively short order. They've been such warriors for the president on everything else. I am totally confident that they're going to be great here. So that's the process.
Awesome. Well, I wish you guys, the best of luck. This kind of stuff shouldn't be happening anywhere in the world, let alone in America. So, Douglas, James, thank you so much for taking the time. We'll definitely keep following the story, and I look forward to seeing, those who did you wrong get what's coming to them.
Thanks, Don. Really appreciate it.
Be well, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.